Need a streamlined way for your customers to create a case in Experience Cloud and attach the necessary files to this new case? Well, check out this episode of How I Solved It, where Dan Faulkner builds a screen flow for case creation in Experience Cloud and see how his flow evolves over time to cover different products. Today, I'm joined by awesome admin, Dan Faulkner. Welcome to How I Solve It, Dan.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's get to know you a bit better before we dive into your use case and solution. So I know that you've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for 10 years. That's a long time. And you're currently a solo admin, so which can be a bit challenging at times because you need to do all the things. So what advice do you have to give to new solo admins? And what do you wish someone told you when you first got started in Salesforce?
Yeah, you're right. I have been in the Salesforce ecosystem for a long time for my sins. So I would say something I wish that I'll start off with what someone told me when I first started was ask as many questions as you possibly can. So I was very guilty at the beginning of going, oh, I have the skills, I can do this and I can do that, and just go away and do it and not think about the business problem or what potential impacts that would have. So I would say make sure you understand what you're doing before you start doing it, because if you don't, you'll just tie yourself up in knots. So that's what I wish I was told, because I was very guilty of that for a long time. And then for solo admins, I'll say the first thing is don't have a child while you're a solo admin. There's no time for that. So I know that from first-hand experience. But it's basically you can't solve everything. You can't solve everything, and it's also understanding what the priorities are for your business, and sometimes it's what's most like bang for your buck as well. So I think really understanding again what the priorities are, and also you really need to reach out to people in the community. Try and get as much help as you can, because what you'll find is there are people out there that are having a similar problem to you or something you're trying to solve, and it will save you a lot of time. So yes, sometimes when I get really stuck, you'll just see me trawling through Reddit or LinkedIn or whatever and going, oh, have you had this problem? And you actually make some friends as well, which is great. So yeah, that's what I would say.
And with all the excitement around AI and how it could boost productivity, how have you used AI in your job, in any of the configuration work that you do? And what are you looking forward to in terms of AI?
Yeah, of course. So what I do a lot of the time with AI at the moment is I actually get it to sort of, I guess, like qualify my work and make sure that I'm not being silly. So recently I had a validation rule. It's quite a complex validation rule, and I was building it bit by bit. And I was essentially just asking an AI tool, what is this telling me? So I was building it. I didn't want it to build it for me, because I'm one of those learners that like to get things right or wrong sometimes. So I just say, what is this telling me? And then it would come back to me and say, this is the Salesforce validation rule telling you X, Y, and Z. And then, you can see whether you're doing it right. I was recently training one of my team members, and I was just saying, just use it because it's really helpful. And I'm trying to work on some dev stuff as well, and it's a great tool for that. And I would say what I'm most excited about is starting to leverage it in our Salesforce system as well. So some great things have come out recently, with some of the scoring things, some of the ability in Service Cloud, and I'm really excited to show my colleagues that as well.
So like you, I've been in the ecosystem for over 10 years. And I remember back in the day when I was an admin myself, working and creating formulas, I'm not very good with the commas and the parentheses, and especially nested if statements always get me. So I would go Google, right, and spend, I don't know how much time trying to find like the formula that is closest to whatever I was trying to build, because I would try to build it and I'm missing something and it doesn't work. Just the other day, I was working in flow builder, and I needed a formula with a nested if statement. And it was really cool to be able to go into an AI tool and say, give me the structure of a nested if statement. I have 3 of them. Give it to me. And then it's so easy to just like copy, paste, tweak it, make it work versus the amount of time I spent previously Googling and then going into a website, checking to see if this was the formula. Nope, that's not it. Going to another,
Yeah.
like that just saved so much time. Or
Yeah,
having it validate for you, like you said.
yeah, yeah, like you said, that it's amazing because yeah, back in the day, 10 years ago, all you see is Steve Mollis, I think it is, writing on all of the
Yes.
forums and going, and you're hoping that he's around and
Please,
just going,
please
please solve my
answer my
problem.
question.
Yeah, so I think that's why they invented AI, some of these tools to save people like Steve. So
Right.
yeah, it's really powerful and it's great.
So, why don't you share with us the business problem that you're trying to solve for?
So basically, our customers use our portal or your experience, whatever you want to call it. Everybody calls it something different. And essentially, we've got quite a few products, and we need specific questions for each of these products. And when you answer a certain question, it might pop up another question, and all these kind of things. So that's part of the problem, and streamlining the way that we log tickets as well, because we were using email to case, and obviously it's quite antiquated now. It's a little bit older, and we want to get as much information right at the beginning as well, and also the ability to attach files on creation to cases. So yeah, that's kind of why I've gone down the route that I have for my solution, because I needed to hit those 3 things as they were very specific requirements. Yeah, that's what I've been trying to solve. Just make sure that our customers get a streamlined process, make sure they can attach any files, and make sure we get the answers to the questions that we need.
Excellent. So, as admins, we like to get technical. So, I would love to see how you built it. Can you show us?
Yeah, of course. So what I will do is I'm actually going to show you what I originally built over 2 years ago and kind of show you what it's turned from into. So what I've built is I've built a screen flow, and this is the original, and this is very, very simple. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but you can kind of see, it's just a couple of components, one decision, and now I'm going to show you what I've built now. So like I mentioned, it's a screen flow, and it's embedded into our experience. And sort of what it allows you to do is it's got multiple screens. It allows you to set your priority of a case, and I'll sort of go through this a bit more. So we'll go through each part. So the first thing is to make sure it's for the right contact. So based on your user login, it will find your email, it will and then attach it to the correct contact. So you can see here, I'm getting a record, I'm getting a contact, and email equals the user email, which is the person that's logged in at the moment. And then right at the beginning, you've got a screen, and you can see what basically just contact customer support, what product you need support for. So this is a list of all of our products. What's the impact and urgency? And this actually determines what potentially where cases go, and also whether we're going to accept the case over the portal as well. And then also what I've added here is CC addresses. So this was a later requirement, was basically being able for our customers to add any CC addresses so they could receive any updates around that case. So that's something I've added recently. And then based on, you can see here, based on what the product is, the first thing is, based on the priority, should a case be created? So I've got a decision here that basically says, if the impact and urgency is high and the product is not this product, what will happen is it will basically block you from creating a case and tell you to call us. When I do the demo, I'll be able to show you that. Otherwise, if it doesn't meet any of those requirements, what it will do is it will just go through to the next decision. So the next piece that I have is, and I'll just have to scroll along, as you can see, it's quite a large flow. What it will do is it will actually determine what product's been selected, and these are our products. And I'll just, I've created a product called How I Solved It. And you can see this relates back to the original screen. You can see it's how I solved it, and equals how I solved it. And essentially what that will do is it will go to the node that you've said, this is the decision and this is the product that needs to be, we're looking at. What will then happen is another screen will open and it will start adding questions. So what I've done is it kind of makes it a bit more personal as well. I've changed it to the product to say, contact customer support. So whatever product they're getting, that will be customized to them. You've got some mandatory information, so you can see the subject description. And then we've got a list of products. You can see it's just a pick list. So I've added some products here. And then based on these products, you can see we've actually got some component visibility as well. So we've got a category that needs to be filled in. And you can see here, these are the choices. And then actually underneath, you've got some component visibility as well. So you can see, how I solved it category equals main system. And it's relative on these as well. And you can see anything that's got this little I here just basically means that it's dependent on something else. So that's kind of the screen. And obviously when I do the demo of that, you'll be able to see it a bit better. And what I've done here is I've got another get records, which will find the queue that it's going to be assigned to. So we don't currently use assignment rules for cases just because we're not as sophisticated at that point yet, but hopefully in the future we will be. So what I do is I actually get a queue, and this is something I had to learn as well, that you're able to get a queue as a group, because you might go, oh, let me find this record and look for a queue. You can't. You need to find a group and a type of a queue and put the name in there. And then what I'll do is I'll assign that later, so the case gets assigned to the correct place. So then what we have is another decision based on what information was passed in this case. So you can again see I've got a decision here, and you can just see it's basically based on the category. Sometimes what I do as well is, so I've got phone and soap, and you can also see the main system is actually just the default. That's basically because the only other option is main system, because what you'll find sometimes is that you'll just have a default thing that you just end because you don't want anything to happen there. So you can actually sort of utilize your default, change it to something that you want, and just kind of set that as the last option. What I'll do is I'll just go through one of these because they are similar, but the reason I've sort of done it these ways is because there are specific things for each type of case, and you don't want to kind of inundate the person who's dealing with the case with information that they don't need. So what I've done here, as you can just see, is I've passed the information. So some of it's from the initial screen, and I tried to, give it names that meant things to me as well. So you're able to sort of say, okay, this is what I did, especially with a flow of this size. And you can sort of see as well, you've got information that's being passed from and things like that. So something I've actually done here as well is something that I'd like to call out is the description formula. So a decision that I also made is any text fields, because you can't really report on them very well, is just drop them into the description rather than creating fields for those. Because for a lot of the time, people request a field is because they want to report on it. And if it's text, it's so difficult to report on it, to be perfectly honest. So you may as well utilize standard Salesforce functionality if you can. And then what happens there is after you've create the case. So this is where, so an option to use was the web to case form, but unfortunately it doesn't allow you to attach files. So this is kind of why I've gone down the route that I've gone. So you can see, so basically what I do at this point is, and you've seen it in the previous ones, is I get the case from above. And the reason I'm doing this as well is so that I can interrogate it at this point where I want to attach. So do I have any attachments? So another screen opens up and you can see, do you have any supporting documentation? And then you can actually upload a file and you can see the related record is actually that get records. And what that allows you to do is just attach multiple files. And then once that's been done, it will just pop up another screen that will essentially say, your case has been created successfully. Your reference number is, you can see I've used the get standard case again. So what that will return is that will return the case number. So obviously if there is any other correspondence, they can reference that case number and then they can finish the flow. So that's essentially it. And basically what it allows me to do is every time we have a new product or we have a set of questions, we have a template that we can provide to our team. And I can essentially just clone one of these and just start again. So it's become quite a nice way of doing it. So yeah, so this is how it looks in our actual environment. So what you can do is, so you select the product. So we'll click how I solved it. You'll see I had a visibility here, and you can also, the great thing I love about Flow as well is that you can add information bubbles. It's so helpful to customers, obviously to your users as well. And so what I'm going to do here is actually add some CC addresses. So this is something I was testing earlier, as you can see. So what I'm going to do is, what that will allow us to do is actually notify these emails when anything changes on the case as well. So you click next, and then we've got some mandatory information. So let me just, I'll just put test case, please help running into issues. The product, so how I solved it, product A, product B, product C. We'll just go for product A for this one. And then the category. So you can see here now, when I click the category, the main criteria option drops down, sorry. Also, if I click mobile, you can see all of these fields now drop down. So, and the same with this option as well. So what I'll do is I'll go for the mobile one, and you can say, these again, we've got mandatory options. So we can say configuration, and again, I'm just going to fill these in with test information, and then I'll just show you how that looks. So all of this information is mandatory, so it needs to be filled in based on this. So we click next, and then you can see, do you have any supporting documentation or files? Please upload them here. So what we can do is upload a file. So I actually had to take a screenshot of my assignment rules earlier. So we'll just attach there, click done, and then click submit. And now you can see your case has been created successfully. Your reference number is here. One of our team will be in touch with you as soon as possible, and click finish. And then what I'll do is I'll actually go into our Salesforce, and I'll just refresh this. And you can see the case has already been created, which is great. So it's an immediate turnaround. You can see it's been attached to me. So it's picked up that it's my user logged in. It's picked up it based on the email. Your case number was the same case number that was provided there. And then if we go to the details, we've got all of the text information. So the way I like to do it is, so I built a template, and all of the questions are just put in as text. And then afterwards, it's actually what the customer has put in. And then you can see as well, we've got a product specific information section. And again, that's filled in, and these are dependent. So if I open up, so if I just edit page, what you can actually see, sorry, as you all know, sandboxes are slightly slower. Sorry. And then we go, so if we just go down to So if we go to details, so what we've got is, and again, we've got this for all different things, but you can see we've got visibility based on what the product is. And that's what we've used there. So basically only what's relevant to that specific case will show up. And you'll also notice as well, it was assigned to the how I solved it queue. And that was because we used that get records as well. So again, if you're not using assignment rules, or maybe they're not quite working for you, you can do that, because I've committed some cardinal sins in the past with hard coding IDs. So I've started to just sort of change my ways and sort of look at, you know, the get records and be able to return that. So yeah, that's it really. You can see it's created a case. It's nice and quick, nice and easy, and really helpful. So here is the original version of this flow back when life was a lot easier, and I wasn't having sleepless nights. And the reason, so there was a lot more requirements that came out of this as well, and part of that was the attachments. So you can see there is no attachments node here as well. Also, as a company, we've grown a lot, and when we only did this for a subset of products at the beginning, and then everyone got excited about it. So they're like, oh, you know, we can gather information straight away. And what that allows you to do is really bring down your cost per case as well, and that's something that's really important. And you know, and with this tool, and with this flow that I've built, we were able to do that. And the reason that I did this is, and I'll show you, and at the time I thought I was an absolute genius. And then as soon as I got another product added, I was like, oh no, this isn't working. Essentially what it was is, I had all of it was only two products in this example. And you could see I had all of this sort of convoluted ways of hiding the fields based on the questions. And obviously now with all the questions that we've got, I'd have hundreds of questions on one screen. So, you know, there is an argument with the way that I've built it. Obviously, you know, the user does have to click through, but we found that it was quite streamlined. You know, it is very much fill in the questions, click next, fill in the questions and click next, and it's not a lot. Whereas with this, it just became an absolute admin headache. So that's why I decided to go down the decision route of, based on what the solution is, you then get a different screen, because then we can actually personalize each set of product questions. And from my perspective, because there's always two things as well, you know, obviously you need to think about the end user and the customer, but then you also need to think about what work this is going to be in your life in the future as well. And you need to find a middle ground. And that's something that I wasn't finding with this solution initially, because as soon as I had any sort of changes, it just wasn't future-proofed at all. And I sort of went away. I remember having a conversation with my boss. It's like, oh, you know that great thing I built? I have to rebuild it, because you know, I didn't think about all of the things that I need to do in the future. And I'm so glad that I did. You know, it was a lot of work at the beginning, but I would say that's a massive thing that I've learned. You will think that you've built something that will stand the test of time, and it's the best thing that you will ever build. One, Salesforce will release something that will be better than what you've got. And two, you know, you're just not as smart as you are tomorrow most of the time. And I think that's so important, because even some of the things they brought out with Flow recently with the actions, I'm sure I'll be able to improve this flow with some of those things. And being a solo admin at the moment, I don't have the time to do that at the moment, but it's obviously something you want to look at in the future. I would just say, just especially with flows, try and constantly improve, because I think Salesforce have realized that this is sort of the way to go in the future. And, you know, I'm trying to ride that wave as much as I can. So you can very much see I've got one decision. It looks a lot easier, but trust me, it's not. It's kind of working out on that create case screen. It's okay, this question relates to this product, this question relates to that product. If this question's answered, what happens? And essentially we have a very streamlined process now of when we have either a new product, or we've got an older product, or a product that's already embedded and they want to ask questions and they're just defining them. I get basically like a Visio over to me. and then I just rebuild that in Flow, and it's ready within a day, or within an hour, and they need to test it. And it's so helpful. And yeah, so that's kind of where I've come from. Started from the bottom, now I'm here, as some would say. So yeah, so it's so yeah, that's exactly what's happening. And yeah, you look at this and you can sort of see all the way through. I've got decisions and elements, but it is as simple as literally copying and pasting these elements, renaming them, and honestly it's great. And I've really enjoyed building this. And to recap, the solution, my solution, is essentially a screen flow that guides our customers through creating cases, allowing us to ask specific questions, which ultimately saves us time and saves time for our customers, because there's no back and forth, or unless they're friends, then they can have a nice back and forth. And it's just making sure that we've got correct data at all times. We're asking the correct questions, and yeah, that's essentially it. And back to you, Jen.
Thank you, Dan, for showing us your solution using a ScreenFlow to manage product case support. And I loved how you improved and made your solution more scalable as you brought on more products for case management. I know I've gone through and improved my flows that I built way back when, and learned more about the platform and found ways to make my flow even better. And thank you for not hard coding IDs. Love it. So thank you again, Dan, for being a guest on How I Solved It.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
You just saw how Dan Faulkner built a ScreenFlow that guides the customer through case creation, asking different questions for different products, and attaching files to the case, while at the same time making it scalable for the future. You can always find videos like this by going to admin.salesforce.com, or by subscribing to our YouTube channel, Salesforce Admins, so you will never miss another episode of How I Solved It. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome admin.